'Tis the season to be merry. This is The Sweat, DraftKings nightly show talking fantasy sports. Thanks for putting your shopping on hold.
Or, listening while you're online shopping. We don't mind if you're multitaskers. It's okay.
We're not doing that. I'm Brendan Glasheen. He's Adam Kaufman. Your shopping done yet?
Haven't even started. Spending way too much time on the DK Live app. Yeah, you see what I did there? Because time is money. You can catch us every single night, at least Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. You get more fantasy analysis from our experts, play-by-play updates for your lineups during games, more so than anywhere else, so you won't miss a thing.
And you don't even have to ask Santa for it. You just download it on your phone. It's a terrific product.
And very, very easy. So let's get right to it. Giving time of year, we've assembled a Christmas list of viewer questions. Maybe not the people you would pick to hear from for Christmas because Jeff Ulrich's here, but it's okay. We'll get right to it. Some of you are in the midst of season-long fantasy football playoffs or championship games. Let's go quad box. There's Jeff right there in the lower left corner trying not to flip me off.
7 more days left to deal with Kaufman. 10 more days. Year's almost over.
I like your shirt, though. Reed Fowler. We've also got Steve Buchanan. And from Quant Edge, Ryan Noonan. Hello, Noonan.
How are we doing today?
Is your mic all set?
Yeah, just keep filling them around. It's okay.
Well, we'll be sure to not go to you first. Okay, viewer questions. Let's start quarterback. We need Deshaun Watson or Matt Ryan. Jeff.
I got to go with Deshaun Watson here. I mean, it's a pretty good matchup. I mean, the Eagles secondary, not good. Matt Ryan going up against Carolina. I mean, that game just has a lot of unknowns. I feel like Atlanta could just get ahead, and then the defense takes over. It's got to be Deshaun Watson for me, for sure.
Hey, Reed, Watson or Ryan?
Yeah. New Hopkins connection. He's got double-digit targets over the last 3 games on average. So you got to go with Watson here.
Steve?
Yeah, it's one of the best football articles in the league, the NFL cheat sheet on DK Live by yours
Good
truly.
plug. Yeah.
I wrote up Watson and Hopkins as the week began. This has ended up being one of my favorite games of the week to target. Like Reed was saying, just the connection with Watson and Hopkins and going up against that pathetic Eagles secondary that, anybody seems to beat at this point. I mean, they're just giving up so many yards, so many points to opposing receivers, and they're giving up the most yards per game to opposing wide receiver one. So they're going up against DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he was in a really good matchup last week against the Jets, and now he gets an even better matchup this week against the Eagles. I don't see how you don't like Watson in this spot. We've seen Ryan have that prototypical boom or bust weekend, and I feel like it's just another matchup for him where he could go either way, where I feel like Watson's a lot safer option.
Ryan Noonan, do you want Matt Ryan or Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the panel here. I think it's clearly Watson. A great matchup in Philly, as all the Steve kind of went long on that for us, but he took all the juice out of the lemon. Though I got to agree, it's definitely Watson.
Nice sweatshirt.
Well,
thank you,
yeah,
appreciate that.
No
4 people.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, I'm just glad you're all set up. 4 people, no disagreement whatsoever. So maybe let's get a little wild here on a Friday. Matt Breida or Jamal Williams. Reed, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, Jamal Williams is a guy that is a volume-based, really touchdown-dependent, right? Good thing in this case, the Jets do give up a lot of red zone opportunities. So I'm going to go Jamal Williams here. Look, Matt Breida is a guy that has seen a lot of usage, but we don't know his health. He's been up and down in terms of that status. He could come in for 5-6 snaps and then be out with an injury. So give me Jamal Williams.
Bukes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with Williams, too, here. I mean, he's kind of a guy in Green Bay now. They've had so many injuries, and now, he's pretty much the workhorse for this team now. And, like Reed said, Reed has just been so up and down, and they really seem like they want to feature Williams in this game. So it's not the best matchup for him against the Jets. They've been pretty good against the run, but I feel like this is a game the Packers can win and be ahead so they can utilize Williams. I think the San Francisco game is going to be a little more competitive. So I don't mind Williams in this spot at all.
Halfway to unanimous, Ryan. Stop the madness.
I wish I could, guys. I don't know who else is taking snaps. I mean, Capri Bibbs. There's really no one else there. I do think the Jets have been decent against the run this season. They are bottom 3 as far as explosive plays allowed on the ground over the last 4 weeks. So they have been getting worse as the season goes along. And if he's the only guy there, 90% of the snaps and touches, I think it's a really good spot for him.
Bring it home, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, don't overthink this one. Like, it's a terrible matchup for Matt Breida, too, as the guys haven't mentioned. But, I mean, the Chicago run defense is not who you want to be starting your running backs against, especially banged up ones. The coaches have already said they're going to be featuring Jamal Williams He's off the injury report. You don't need to worry about that. He's actually a really good all-around back. Maybe not as explosive as Aaron Jones, but it's a good spot, especially if you're in a PPR league.
Yeah, maybe 8 for 8.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some controversy with Todd Gurley. He's a game-time decision for the Rams Sunday. That's the latest news today. That game is Sunday at the Cardinals. Would you risk playing Gurley if he's in, Steve?
Stupid.
What's stupid? Playing him? Don't do it.
Of course.
Okay.
Like, there's no point. Honestly, there's no point. Like, he's the most expensive guy on this slate. He's not fully healthy. The Rams really have nothing to play for. It's a great matchup. Like, if this was anybody else other than the Cardinals, like, this really wouldn't be such a debate, right? Like, it's such a good matchup because the Cardinals are so bad against opposing running backs. They just can't defend the run. And I think that's what it's getting everybody hung up at this point. But are you really going to risk $9,200 for Gurley? I mean, he's a game-time decision at this point. Look, they want him healthy for the playoffs. They don't care about some crap game going up against the Cardinals. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, even if Todd Gurley goes and plays a full game, I will happily get beat by him, but take other guys who are cheaper and get potentially more production. You could end up seeing John Kelly in this game, especially if this game gets out of hand early. It's just not worth the risk in this spot, especially with how expensive he is. Stupid.
Steve, so what was that? Stupid? Yeah, there's
stupid.
Okay.
Well, let's also just keep in mind this is a season-long question as well. So let's get
so, right? I mean, what are we talking about? Did Steve not get the notes here? What are we doing?
Go ahead, Ryan. What do you got?
Maybe we have some disagreement.
Come on, Bukes. Read the notes, dude. 9,200. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I wouldn't start him. I wouldn't start him in DraftKings, but if people are still grinding season long and they're in the championship, you have a decision to make because you probably got here on the back of Gurley and you got to figure out what to do. Context matters, so you got to have a sub that's in the spot. Maybe you have John Kelly or something like that. But I think if you got there with him, you gotta ride him probably. But again, context matters. It depends on who you have on the bench. But yeah, don't play him in DFS. Listen to Steve. I guess he was right there.
Yep.
How about Jeff?
I mean, yeah, just to take that a little bit further. I mean, here's some names you might have on your bench that I would play over Todd Gurley. I would play Jamal Williams over him. I'd probably play Tevin Coleman over him. Jeff likes Tevin Coleman. Good joke. I would definitely play Derrick Henry over him. These are guys he might have just picked up. Jalen Samuels, I would play over him. So there's a lot of people you probably might have just picked up over waivers if you're still in it, like Ryan said. I think they're just in better spots. So if you do have someone who's getting a better chance because of other injuries, don't be afraid to play him over Todd Gurley this week because Steve was right. I mean, this is, he might get like a few carries. If the Rams get up by 2 touchdowns, he ain't going to play much, or at least I would be shocked if he did.
Let's see if Reed makes it 12 for 12 in this riveting opening segment.
Let me just clear up the question: is if Todd Gurley is healthy, are you playing him? Correct.
Yes, and we preface this by saying people are in season-long playoffs.
You are playing the guy exactly the second most DK fantasy points on average. I think Patrick Mahomes is the only guy that clears him. And look, you're clearly in the championship game because Todd Gurley has been a part of getting you there. I agree that some of those guys in DFS that Jeff mentioned are a better play, but this is the best running back of the entire season. You're not going to sit this guy for Jalen Samuels or Jamal Williams. There's no way if you're in your championship game. And what these guys fail to mention is it's not John Kelly at number 2, it's CJ Anderson. So if you didn't pick up those guys because you were potentially had a first-round buy, you didn't have the waiver priority to get Jalen Samuels or some of these other backs who are doing well, I mean, in a pinch, CJ Anderson, Royce Freeman is someone that gets the red zone touches going against Oakland, that if for whatever reason, come game time that Gurley can't go, get one of these guys. But, I mean, there's
if James Conner got you to the championship game, guys, make sure you play James Conner this week, too, even though he's not playing. Make sure you play.
You're not listening to the question, Ulrich.
Viewers at home were just reassured by Reed. They all just breathed a sigh of relief that I can play Todd Gurley and sleep at night.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the guy doesn't just roll over and play like a quarter like Steve's worried about. All right, give us a good defense to stream, Ryan.
Oh, good defense to stream. I mean, at this point, I would think anything that's available. I mean, Broncos, if they're available, they get a nice matchup against the Raiders, giving up a lot of pressure for the last month and a half or so.
Steve?
Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are obviously in a good spot here this week. Probably available, too, if you're playing season long. I guess we're talking about that. But I think they would definitely be available on your wire. I can't imagine people have scooped up the Dolphins, but obviously it's a low-scoring game that they're projecting. a lot of turnovers in this game, very likely. So I think the Dolphins are in a good spot here.
Jeff?
There's a lot of defenses in good spot. I think the Browns are pretty interesting. I mean, at home in the revenge spot, I mean, I think, they're not going to be afraid to be going for pick sixes late in that game. So if you really need, you feel like you're in a bad spot in your championship game or whatever, I think the Browns are pretty good too. They'll definitely be available because no one likes to play the Browns even when they're good. So I think that's actually a pretty good defense to look at.
Reed, I think you're left.
Yeah, I mean, all those by himself. Like, all those defenses are good. Atlanta does present some contrarian play there as well. I mean, they're obviously going to be on the waivers to pick up if you want to stream them. Going against Taylor Heineke having his first start. So if not the first three, which I think are really good defenses, Atlanta's another one.
All right, we'll do one more viewer question. You got to pick one out of these three receivers: Dante Pettis, Robbie Anderson, or Sterling Shepard. Steve.
I'd probably go with Robbie Anderson in that spot. I think of the three, I think he probably has the best. Dante Pettis against the Bears, no way. I think it's going to be Anderson. Sterling Shepard, forget it.
How about you, Ryan?
I'm going to agree. I'm going to go with Robbie Anderson. I think Pettis is interesting, and I think with the injuries and some of the things that are going on in New York, I think we're going to see Shepard back in the slot. That's kind of why we've been stung by him the last couple of weeks. He's been playing on the outside, not really fitting his skill set. So I think they're all viable. I'd go Anderson, though.
Reed?
Todd Gurley?
Todd Gurley. No, Todd Gurley in the slot. Better than a bunch of the receivers. Yeah, it's got to be Robbie Anderson. 5 of the last 6 games, he's got 7 targets on average. So 3 for 3, Robbie Anderson.
Jeff?
Don't listen to these guys. It's Dante Pettis. Why are you scared of the Bears defense, Steve? They're not good at guarding against the wide receiver position.
Well, okay. All right.
They're not.
Okay.
Dante Pettis is number 1 receiver, San Francisco. Jari Alexander is going to shut down Robbie Anderson this week. Robbie Anderson Shock Week is going to be a bust. You're going to be wishing you played Dante Pettis.
Jeff starting the weekend early.
Well, we started the show with the quad box, and we won't have it the rest of the show. Might be for the better. These guys are getting at each other.
I'm going to miss them. I think they're all fun. But we will be joined by them in pairs later on. Thanks, gents. We'll be back. 10 game slate in the NBA to discuss. But first, Pat Mayo reveals his Buffalo Wild Wings Saturday picks.
Pat Mayo here with your Saturday night hot picks for Ravens Chargers presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. Of all the single game contests this season, Ravens Chargers may be the most difficult to figure out. On the Ravens side, the move has been to plug in Lamar Jackson, then cease to worry about any of your fantasy points, because he's going to pile them up. But here's the thing. Look at who Jackson's played in the 5 weeks since becoming starter. The Bengals, Raiders, Falcons, Chiefs, and Bucks. 5 of the 6 worst defenses in the NFL. Now, the Chargers aren't the Bears, but they're pretty damn good. And as underdogs in this matchup, if Baltimore falls behind early, Lamar's going to have to start chucking. So, from the passing game, you got to pick your poison. But none are great options. So, I'll lean Willie Snead after saying a few prayers. The Chargers aren't really all that easy to figure out either. It looks like the gang will almost all be back together on the field Saturday, but how healthy will they be? That is unclear. I'll go on my notion that Baltimore will be trailing and throwing and make the Chargers' defense my captain. Even when they're winning, Lamar's prone to error. Imagine when he's losing. Those are the Saturday night hot picks for Ravens Chargers. I'm Pat Mayo.
Let's talk some hoops. 10 games in the association this evening. The Action Network's Matt LaMarca, DFS expert Jeff Eisenband, and DK Live's Alex Rickleen. Jump on the program. What's up,
NBA
guys?
pick and roll, fellas. That's where each of you chooses between one top option at each position. Guards first. We've got the Pelicans point guard Drew Holiday, $9K at the Lakers. Celtics playmaker Kyrie Irving, $8,700 at home, so just a smidge cheaper facing the Bucks. Matt, who you like?
I'm going with Kyrie here. I mean, obviously, if Anthony Davis gets ruled out, we can rethink Drew Holiday here, but $9K for Holiday with Davis in the lineup feels a little expensive to me. Kyrie, meanwhile, is in a really nice spot here against the Bucks. The Bucks play at one of the fastest paces in the league this season. The Celtics are going to be without Al Horford and Marcus Morris today, and Kyrie has seen a huge bump to his assist rate with both of those players off the floor this season. No point guard on the slate has averaged more fantasy points per minute than Kyrie over the past month. So I think that this is a great spot to load up on Irving.
Jeff, you going to Boston too?
Yeah, I went back and forth on this one, but I ended up going with Kyrie. First of all, he's cheaper. So let's talk about that's a little disrespect to Kyrie Irving, who is the better player. He's had at least 45 points in his last four games, and just kind of looking at kind of the lay of the land, like it was just mentioned, the Milwaukee Bucks they score the most points a game. I think the Celtics are going to have to keep up, so I think Kyrie keeps up with them.
Irving also lit up the Bucks pretty good in their last meeting last month. Alex, what do you have?
I want to go with Drew here. Kyrie is cheaper. He's played better over the last 5 games. But Drew's got the clear advantage in the matchup department. Lakers play faster than the Bucks, and they allow more points per possession. So I'm going with Drew.
The irony. Don't be fooled by the jersey behind him, huh?
That's a Garnett jersey. Nice. All right, tough call at forward. Basically debating between what the biggest gift under the tree should be. It's Kawhi Leonard. He's had 50-plus DK points in back-to-back games. He's going to cost $9,500. Or do you want to have a LeBron night at home? King James priced at $10,900 as the Lakers host those Pelicans. Jeff, where are you going here?
I think that you have to go with Kyrie Irving here because you look down the lineup at the Raptors, no Kyle Lowry, no Serge Ibaka, no Danny Green. To me, I mean, it's home against Cleveland. That's part of the reason the guys are sitting, but that means that Kyrie is going to have to carry that full load tonight. And for LeBron, he's listed as questionable. Obviously, you expect him to play, but it just seems like Kyrie for $1,400 less is the easy pick here.
You're talking Kawhi, right? Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, sorry, Kawhi. Sorry, we got two picks confused.
No problem.
That's all right.
No problem. Alex, Kawhi or LeBron James?
Well, LeBron might not play, and
that's right.
In which case I definitely prefer Kawhi. But even if he does, I'm going to agree. I'm going with Kawhi here. I love the savings. I love the matchup against the Cavs. And he's averaging 28.7 in these last 3 games with Lowry out. And as Jeff just said, Lowry's going to be out again. So he's really stepped up his play there. I'm definitely sticking with Kawhi.
It's almost like he was running away from us.
Yeah, he just shrunk for a second.
Get distant.
Matt LaMarca, you have to go with Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James?
I think Kawhi is the better play. Like, if you're playing cash games, for sure, Kawhi Leonard is the play out of these two. I do kind of think LeBron is an interesting tournament play tonight. People are going to be scared off of him because of the illness, even if he is active. And he has an elite matchup versus the Pelicans. Like, they play fast. They play no defense. I think LeBron will check in with, sub 10% ownership, while Kawhi is going to be 20 to 30 would be my guess. So if you're interested in a contrarian play, I think LeBron is definitely appealing, but Leonard is certainly the better play of the two, given the Raptors' current injury situation.
And we're hearing LeBron's going to play.
Yeah, according to ESPN sources, LeBron will play. That's as things stand right now. Let's go to the bigs, guys. Magic center Nick Vucevic, 9,200 in Chicago, or Pistons freight train Andre Drummond. He's 8,900 at Charlotte. Racleen, what do you say?
So you got Drummond with an illness against the team he's struggled against for the last several years, or Vucevic against a bad defensive Bulls team. I don't see much of a problem here. Vooch has crushed Markkanen head-to-head, 26-10 last time they matched up earlier this month. Just much better than his career numbers each time they've played. Vucevic by a lot.
Maybe he did run away from us.
Maybe, yeah. He's further down the tunnel. It's at the end of the hallway.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with Alex here. Just because Drummond struggled against Charlotte in the past, this is a completely different Hornets team. They no longer have Dwight Howard. They've got no presence on the interior that can really hang with him on the glass. I think that he's in line for, a potential 2020 type game. Vucevic also has a great matchup. I just think that the potential savings on Drummond pushes me in that direction.
Jeff?
So I went back and forth on this. I think Drummond's the better player. Originally, I was going to say that I just think straight up, at this, especially $300 cheaper, I'll take Drummond. But I'm going narrative here. Nikola Vucevic coming off the birth of his child.
Woo!
There's always some inspiration. You hear these stories. So you know what? I'll go Nikola Vucevic. He just had, rest up. You rest up. I've never had a child, but if I were a professional athlete and I saw my team playing without me, I feel like I'd come back and I'd want to make up some ground. So I'm going Vucevic.
I will tell you, when you have a child, you do anything but rest up. So let's see how he's feeling. But, all right, this crew returns later on to break down the NBA Tiers contest. NFL Over-Under is next. Before we do that, let's learn more about DraftKings Sportsbook, right? We're all interested in that. Director of Operations Johnny Avello took some time to chat with this guy right here. Don't go anywhere.
Director of Operations at DraftKings Sportsbook, Johnny Avello. He joins us from Las Vegas. Let's start big picture here in our first chat. When running a sportsbook, setting lines, etc., it takes people a bit to understand things. So take us behind the curtain. How does the process work? How many different resources do you use? What are the biggest factors when making odds?
There's not a whole lot of resources because the team that we have in place here in Las Vegas, between the traders and the management team, we can pretty much do all the odds that need to be done because we have the team here that knows how to make odds, use their own resources, and we feel we put up a great product.
Some big news over the weekend, Johnny, and over the last few days as well. Cam Newton being shut down by the Panthers, for instance. Now that they're out of the playoffs, Josh Gordon steps away from football again, so the Patriots don't have him going forward. When stories like that happen, how do you decide, you and your team, you and your peers, how do you decide whether or not what news should impact or not impact the line of a game?
Well, the first thing you do is when that kind of news comes out is take the game down. I mean, there are some important players that are going to make a difference in the line. There's some that are going to make a really small difference, if any at all. A guy like Cam Newton certainly makes a big difference. Now, we took the line down and we adjusted it from them being a 3-point favorite and swung it all the way to the other side as Atlanta being a 3-point favorite. Cam Newton, when you look at his stats this year, they really weren't that bad, but he just couldn't throw the ball downfield. And we saw that in the Saints game. We saw that, the farthest he could throw the ball looked like about 15 yards or so. So they took him out for the year, and I think it was a wise decision by the management.
Heading into Week 16 in the NFL, tell us which lines have moved the most and why.
The Vikings at the Lions went from 4.5 to 6. The Lions have been a thorn in this team's side, winning 5 of the last 9 or so. But when you see the Vikings last week, their offensive performance with 41 points, it looks like their new offensive coordinator, at least for the interim, Kevin Stefanski, has made a difference. The Vikes need to stay in the hunt. It's a public perception probably move because they thought the line might have been a little bit short at 4.5. And the money showed on the Vikings and could even go a little higher before kickoff.
For first-time or inexperienced bettors, what advice would you give?
Money management, I think that's probably the biggest. And when I say that is categorize your plays with your best to your weakest, your best, you have 3 plays for the weekend. And then don't put the same amount of money on all 3. Make your best play maybe maybe another unit more than the other 2. Do your own research because it's plentiful the information that's out there these days. Don't pay for a service because you start paying for a service or paying somebody to give you your picks. Now you're paying them and you're betting into the juice of the game itself, which is a little difficult to overcome by itself. So just do your own homework.
Good thoughts there. We have the first ever sports betting national championship taking place in New Jersey. Tell us a little bit about this unique event coming up.
I got to tell you, Brandon, I am so excited about this championship. It's going to take place on 11th, 12th, and 13th, 3-day event. It's a $10,000 entry fee, but there's a lot of guys that bet $10,000 on a daily basis, and a lot of guys bet it on the weekends, during football. And so, if you're going to put $10,000 in action, why not put it in action in a contest where you get to keep the money that you win, and you have a chance at winning $1 million first prize with overall prizes totaling $2.5 million. So the way the contest works is you put up $10,000 up front, 5 of that goes into prize money, 5 you get to play with. And then on Friday and Saturdays, you play anything you want to, parlays, straight bets, whatever your whatever's best for you or works for you or your forte. And then on Sunday, it's just about the 2 football games. You have to bet those 2 football games only. Now, you have to be in New Jersey to play in this contest. And, so if you could stay in New York, you could stay in Pennsylvania, you could stay in Mass, but you have to be within the boundaries of New Jersey when you're playing in the contest. And I don't see that as a problem, to be honest with you. If you're living here in Las Vegas and you want to be in the contest, you fly back for a couple of days and enjoy what back east has to offer this time of the year, and then just play in the contest. So this contest is the first of its kind. I think people are going to embrace it, and I'm just so looking forward to it in just a few weeks.
Excellent. Best of luck preparing for that. Should be a lot of fun once it actually unfolds. DraftKings Sportsbook Director of Ops, Johnny Avello. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah,
it was fun. It was interesting.
It was interesting.
Yeah, learned a lot, obviously, about the way all this works.
That event is coming up January 12th through the 14th. I think that is divisional round weekend in the NFL.
Don't want to miss that. All right, 2 games on Saturday. That's tomorrow in the NFL. Redskins, Titans, Ravens, Chargers. We're going to talk about both plenty. Let's play a game of over-under with DK Live's Jeff Ulrich and Ryan Newton from the Quant Edge. This includes game totals, props, so we'll start Washington, Tennessee. Line is 37.5, boys. Over or under, Ulrich?
Yeah, we talked about this game yesterday, and actually the point total's gone up by half a point, it looks like, and I still like the over here. Look, say what you want about Washington, Josh Johnson. He's put up 16 points the last 2 weeks, which doesn't sound like much, but when you have a game total at 37.5 and you have a team being able to at least score that many points, you don't need that much from the Titans, and I think the Titans offense gets a little bit of a bad rap. Yeah, they like to run the ball a little bit, and they're a little bit conservative, but they've actually been pretty effective against some good defenses. Put up 28 points against the Cowboys. I think the Washington Redskins are going to be able to do enough. I think you can pass the ball against the Titans, and it's warm weather game. Like, you don't really have to worry about the weather. I think this is a nice total to take the over, personally.
Yeah, as I recall, Reed was on that segment and laughed at you and figured this is going to be about 30 points total for that game, but he's not with us at this moment.
You didn't get invited back.
No, not for this segment. So, Ryan, where do you stand, over or under?
Jeff has more conviction than I do on it. I would probably lean to the over here. We have an awesome betting tool over at thequantedge.com. We have this total at 39, so again, that's kind of in line there. Just a slight over, not a ton of conviction. Like Jeff said, I mean, I really don't know where the points are coming from here, though. Washington side, yeah, they don't have to do much, but their implied team total is under 14, like 13.5 here as 10-point dogs with this total. Their pass core is a mess. Again, it just doesn't take much for a game like this with a low total under 40 to go over. Pick sixes are in play. That can blow up an under bet pretty quickly. So I'd have a slight lean on the on the over, but there's just other plays on the board that I'd prefer.
I think a lot of us have been frustrated or surprised by Derrick Henry's production as of late. 238 and 170 as far as rushing yards in back-to-back weeks. This one's interesting. Over or under 81.5 yards on the ground on Saturday, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid here. I mean, I've been a strong Derrick Henry stan for about 3 years now. He's like eggnog. It comes around only in December.
Nice. But
it's awesome. And I love it so much. The Deion Lewis signing was really peculiar even at the time. I mean, Deion Lewis is outstanding on a per carry basis for the last number of years. Was really effective in New England, but they threw a ton of guaranteed money at him. And Derrick Henry was dominant last year down the stretch. We're finally seeing him kind of emerge here. He's handled 69% of the running back touches over the past 4 weeks. You mentioned earlier, 408 yards, 6 scores in the last 2 games. I just don't see how they're going to change up the usage now with Henry, particularly when he's on this bit of a heater. No team has allowed more rushing yards over the last 4 games than the Redskins, and allowing a ton of explosive plays on the ground as well. So I'm going to lean heavily on the over here on 81.5.
Jeff, you drinking the eggnog, Kool-Aid, whatever you want to call?
I mean, I'm definitely not drinking eggnog, but I'll agree with pretty much everything Ryan just said. I mean, I think you have to take the over here. And I think that last point is really what it does. I mean, eventually I think some team will come along and probably figure out, like, maybe we should guard this Derrick Henry guy. I don't think it's going to be the Redskins, though, because like Ryan said, the last 4 or 5 weeks, their run defense is it's crumbled, right? So, you come in here, home game now. the Titans want to run the ball. Mike Vrabel loves this. It's not that Derrick Henry isn't going to get the chances. Washington is going to have to shut him down. I don't think they can do it. So 81.5, yeah, I'd take the over.
All right, let's try and figure out where those points are coming from the Redskins. QB Josh Johnson's passing yard total 170.5. It's not a lot, very modest, in fact. Will he go over that, Jeff?
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, if you can get this number, 170.5, I'd take the over for sure. I mean, Josh Johnson, yeah, I know. Look, he threw for like 150 last week. He ran the ball a bit. But, again, you look at the context. Look at the opponent. Tennessee's better than Jacksonville. There's much more chance Josh Johnson is going to be forced into throwing the ball more late this week. Last week it was a close game. Washington was able to just, pound Adrian Peterson, run time, and then get a lucky field goal at the end. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think Josh Johnson is going to have to pass the ball a bit more, and he's capable. He's a better backup than Mark Sanchez. He's a very, very good college quarterback at one point, and I think this total is way too low. I think he can definitely go over in the spot.
Ryan, over or under?
I'm caught off guard by Jeff's strong convictions here on Josh Johnson. I mean, basically, the only time he topped his total here a couple weeks ago because Jamison Crowder took like a slant 79 yards. Jeremy Sprinkle is a real human who's going to be getting real targets in a real NFL game this weekend. I mean, Vernon Davis is out. Jordan Reed is out. Josh Doxson's got a back injury. I mean, this is a rough crew that the Redskins are rolling out here. And I just don't have a ton of conviction in a dusty 32-year-old, third backup here. So I think it's probably a decent set line. I would avoid the prop unless I absolutely had to.
You're not in on the sprinkler this week, Ryan?
I mean, he burned me last week because I had some Vernon Davis exposure, but I mean, this is pretty brutal.
Johnson to Sprinkle. Good luck to those play-by-play guys.
Finally, the nightcap, Baltimore, LA, the Chargers, that is. A little more offense expected in this one. 43.5 points, so over or under that total, Ryan?
This is going to be a good game. I'm going to lean under here. I think Lamar Jackson's limitations in the passing game are going to be a problem. Dating back to week 9, he has the 4th worst adjusted completion percentage in the league. The Chargers have been outstanding, limiting big plays. They're top 4, limiting big plays on the ground and in the air. So that just means Jackson's going to need to sustain drives and really get them down the field a little bit slower than he may need to. And the Chargers play at just a snail's pace. They've been super efficient this year, but dead last in situational neutral pace and overall pace on the season. I probably get, they're going to get their running back this week too. So I think we're just going to see a slower game with Melvin Gordon in there. I'm going to lean under.
Jeff, over under 43.5.
Yeah, I like the under here almost as much as I like the over in the other game. The Chargers are a slower paced team. They're one of the slowest in the league. And you look at Baltimore under Lamar Jackson. I mean, they've hit over this number a couple times, but they've been against pace up opponents. And in one case, I think it was like a lucky defensive score. Now they're going up against an improving and like a fully healthy almost Chargers defense. It's just not a good scene. I'm expecting, something in the vicinity of like a 1-score game where the Chargers get to 23 points and probably just limit Lamar Jackson a bit. So I do like the under in the spot quite a bit.
All right, you guys are done for now. Jeff, real quick, what's T-Rex hate? I can't see your shirt.
He can't reach the Christmas gifts, okay, Kaufman?
Okay, the short arms. Good, I got it. All right, we'll talk to you in a little bit. Hey, it's a Friday, so that means Mike Francesa is on the show. We dived into delved, how about that, into a bunch of topics earlier today. Enjoy it. My favorite time of the week, Francesa Friday. Adam Kaufman joined by Mike Francesa from WFAN in New York. Mike Zahn, of course. Mike, we got to start in New England because the biggest news of the week, at least in the last couple of days, Josh Gordon suspended indefinitely by the NFL. That, of course, came only really moments after he said that he was walking away from the game for at least a little while to work on his mental health. Of course, looks like the suspension was coming down either way. Looked like he'd found a good spot with the Patriots, too. 11 games, nothing seemed to be on the horizon. I know you were a believer it was going to work out. Did this surprise you?
It never surprises you, but that was his best chance. They're good at that. They have a culture. It's defined. They don't mind bringing outsiders in. They don't mind bringing people in with problems and giving them a chance. They gave him a chance. It worked out for a little while. It hasn't worked out to their satisfaction. It hasn't been exactly a December to remember for the Pats, that's for sure. And I don't think this is going to be a memorable postseason for the Pats.
2 straight losses for New England. That hasn't happened in December since 2002. I mean, that was right at the beginning of the Tom Brady era. But like you said, they should demolish Buffalo. We'll see what happens. But for Patriots fans out there, I hate to remind you what happened back in the winter last year. We know what the Eagles did and Nick Foles. And, you know, Chris Long, he seemed to build a shrine for Nick Foles in that Philly locker room now that Carson Wentz has gone down. This team believes in that Foles magic. Do you?
Yeah, you know what? You have to start to. I mean, that was a very unlikely, improbable win against the Rams. It really was. He brings something to that team. They have to review and maybe even change how they think about the future now. It's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. Foles becomes a major factor going forward, and let's be honest, there's something there. He brings something to the table there. He changes the fortunes of that team, and if he does it again against Houston, you know what? People are going to really become believers.
Cam Newton shut down by the Panthers. Do you think they made a mistake waiting this long to do it?
I don't know. You know, something was clearly wrong. He was hurting the team. Everything is breaking down there. You know, that coaching staff, they made changes on that. Rivera went back to calling defensive signals. He fired some guys. That owner there is a new owner, and he's a new age owner. He's a guy who made his money on Wall Street, David Tepper. He's a guy who believes in new age thinking. I would not be surprised if they cleaned house. It would not shock me. Ron Rivera is a solid coach, but he's an old-fashioned coach. I would not be surprised if they decide to go in a different direction.
Not good news for Ron if that comes to fruition.
No, I think that could happen. He'd get a job, but I tell you right now, Tepe is new age, and he's going to do things that are modernized. I think that could be a big change there.
Let's take a look at the NBA, Mike, because one of the, I'm not going to call it a scandal necessarily, but LeBron James, there were complaints among general managers that LeBron was tampering when he said Anthony Davis would be cool on the Lakers. Now, some GMs have felt beyond this tampering that it's, you know, basically it's an onslaught on small market teams, that if these players in large markets like LeBron can run their mouths saying, yeah, we want your guy from a small market, that just totally disrupts everything, the way the business is supposed to work. Do you agree? I mean, was that tampering? Is that problematic when players start doing that?
Absolutely tampering. Nothing they can do about it. That's the league they have created. They've created a league where stars attract other stars. They are built that way. They are built to live with that and, you know, really shocked. You know, it's almost like, really, there's a scandal there? I mean, everyone in the world knows LeBron continuously is recruiting players. So it's not a surprise to anybody. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody that he's always out there laying the groundwork for his next player. So to me, there's nothing they can do about it. They are not going to shut him down. That league has been built on individual players. They have marketed that league to make the individual player all powerful, and that's part of what they wind up with, exactly what they're getting now.
No, there's a reason it's such a strong union. The players obviously run that league, head coaches and GMs.
They do,
so
and
much,
also the thing is, those players right now are the biggest stars in sports because of the way the NBA markets them.
Well,
everybody knows them. Yes, absolutely, they are the stars. They're known by one names. Those guys are the stars. They play without helmets. They have incredible power. Their league markets them. Look at how the NBA markets LeBron versus how, say, baseball markets Mike Trout. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, name one thing you know about Mike Trout. It would take you a while to come up with it off the field.
Absolutely.
The guy likes the weather, apparently. That's about it. 19-year-old Luka Doncic. You know, people knew when this guy was drafted he was going to be the next big thing. He's averaging almost 19 points a game right now, scored 32 last night. He's made the Mavs a playoff contender, which is borderline shocking. Now, is it too early to say Dallas won the draft day trade that sent Trae Young to Atlanta in exchange for Doncic, or does this need to play out a little bit more?
No, they already won it. They won it hands down. This guy's as good as advertised. When you know, sometimes when you hear not a buzz, but a certainty about a player, that's how they talked about this guy. They talked about this guy like he was going to be a Dirk Nowitzki. He was going to be a really franchise-leading player. They actually talked about this guy in more certain terms than they did the Greek Freak. So to me, it's not a surprise. He's even better than advertised. He's also with a very good coach. And that franchise is back because they're very forward-thinking. They're very aggressive. They have a wonderful coach. They got an owner who wants to win. They're going to put a good team around them.
Hey, got to say, that was a really good job with Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And
he's terrific.
I hope you have a wonderful Christmas at his house next Tuesday.
I'm really looking forward to it. It should be delightful. I'm going to hang out with the 30-plus grandkids. I'm not exaggerating. It's big family.
Does he actually have that many?
Yeah. Huh. Never mind that.
Look at that. You got Christmas, Saratoga.
I'm offended on his behalf. No one cares.
Let's
All right. Let's get back to basketball with the Action Network's Matt LaMarca, DK Live's Jeff Eisenband, and Alex Racklin as well. Racklin, good to see you full size again. Jeff, as we inch closer to lineup lock, any late breaking news that you're keeping an eye on here?
Yes, and not to just plug it, but the DK Live app just notified me that Tyreke Evans is out tonight.
Okay, plug away. We want people to download it.
So that I felt like it was just insult to injury that the news just broke that Jabari Parker is out. I don't know what that doesn't really affect your lineups. We mentioned Serge Ibaka and Danny Green out, and Kristaps Porzingis will be reevaluated in February. Not really late breaking, but I'm going to throw that out there.
It's a long time away.
Yeah, it really is. All right, Matt.
I mean, the really one that's fantasy relevant in my opinion right now is Anthony Davis. Like, as long as he's going to play, that is the only one that really matters for this particular slate, I think.
Alex, anything to add? All right, we're going to come back to you. We got to get your mic working.
He ran away. He came back, and now he can't hear him.
Yes, imagine.
So LeBron, also we heard LeBron, according to ESPN, is going to play tonight despite the illness. So got all that stuff squared away. Let's go to our tiers of joy. First up, tier number 5. Lots of talent there. Derrick Rose, Lauri Markkanen, Aaron Gordon, Lonzo Ball, a handful of others, including the rapidly aging Buddy Hield. Who do you like here, Matt?
I am going to go with Derrick Rose. He's been fantastic for the Timberwolves when they've had Jeff Teague out of the lineup, averaging over 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. I think as long as Teague is out, and it sounds like he's going to miss the next 10 days or so, that Rose is going to be a strong play. He's a high-usage player, so any sort of extra minutes for him is typically going to lead to extra fantasy points.
Jeff?
I'm looking at Eric Bledsoe. We talked about it in the first segment that, it could be a high-paced game in Boston with Kyrie Irving on the other side. I could see him, Eric Bledsoe and Kyrie trading shots. Don't take Nurkic playing against Rudy Gobert tonight. I will also say this. Lonzo Ball is at the bottom of the slate, but I'm looking at him. I'm looking at that Lakers matchup. If LeBron plays and that's high-paced, I'm close to taking Lonzo, so I'll throw him out there too.
Rondo is going to play tonight, though. That's the only caveat.
Yeah.
I just want to know if Terry Rozier is going to show up to the Garden tonight wearing his Drew Bledsoe jersey again.
Oh.
Motivate Eric a little bit.
All right, Racklin, hope we can hear you now, and you can hear us. Shout to the people.
Hopefully.
The pressure.
I want to go with Dinwiddie versus the Pacers in this matchup. It's a tough matchup, but he's got at least 40 DraftKings points in 3 of his last 5. With Crab out in games that aren't 20-point blowouts, Dinwiddie is averaging 32 minutes, 24 points, 13.7 field goal attempts, all much higher than his season averages. And when you look over at the salaries in the non-tiered matchups, Dinwiddie is sort of a surprising value if you compare that to the other people in this tier.
All right, let's do tier 6 then. Features Domantas Sabonis, Chris Middleton, Jason Tatum, Trae Young, Rudy Gay, and others. Alex, who stands out?
I've been standing for Kevin Knox lately. This tier has a lot of sort of high upside guys like Moutier or Trae Young, who if you want to sort of get some punch in, I might go for them. But if I'm looking for something a little bit more stable, I want Kevin Knox. I'm a believer. I think he's arrived.
Jeff, you on the Knox bandwagon? Someone else?
Well, I'm on the Knox bandwagon for other reasons, but not in daily fantasy tonight. I'm tired of the disrespect to Jason Tatum. He's an easy at least 30 points, and he always has a chance to pop. Plus, we talked about some of those injuries that the Celtics are dealing with. Al Horford, Marcus Morris. I think Aaron Baines out tonight too.
Yep.
So I just feel like it's too much disrespect. But Domantas Sabonis, not a bad pick as well.
Matt?
You might be the first person I've ever heard say that Jason Tatum doesn't get enough respect. Danny Ainge has brainwashed everybody.
Maybe it just means in the confines of Tier 6, he doesn't get enough
fair.
respect.
You know, Danny Ainge has convinced us all that the Celtics shouldn't trade him for Anthony Davis.
That's very true.
Which is ridiculous in my opinion.
Now he wants to be Paul Pierce.
Anyway, Jason Tatum is the pick in this tier for me as well. I just love the fact that the Celtics are so thin in the front court right now with Horford and Morris, and Aaron Baines is going to miss, extended time as well. Tatum's going to be one of the only options that they have at the power forward position for a while. So I think he's the best value here for me.
All right, so Jeff, who is your slate-approved lock of the night?
I love that preface there. And then going with Tatum. It's Kawhi Leonard overall, not in tiers, but overall we mentioned it. Kawhi Leonard, it seems like his whole team is out tonight. He's playing a lowly Cleveland team. I expect Kawhi to carry that team and be a high value pick for you.
Action, Matt?
Julius Randle. He's going to play. When he's been in and Mirotic has been out, he's averaging over 40 DK points per game, and he's only been doing that in 27 minutes. He should play much more than that tonight in a great matchup versus the Lakers.
And Racleen in the Kevin Garnett jersey. Who's your slate-approved pick?
To avoid doubling down on Kawhi, I'll go elsewhere on the Raptors, though Kawhi is kind of my real guy. Delon Wright starting in place of Danny Green. Last time he started, he put up 15 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 32 DraftKings points. Only costs $4,100.
As KG says, anything is possible.
I have such a basketball crush on Julius Randle, too, but we could save that for another time. All right, thank you, fellas. Enjoy your night. We are done with hoops.
Get a mistletoe.
Yeah. So, all right. I mean, I just like to watch them play basketball. We're going to do more football. That's on the way with Reed and Steve after Tara Lynn takes us for a quick skate.
Tara Lynn Azak in with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. A small 3-game slate in the NHL tonight, so let's focus on the showdown contest between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Colorado Avalanche. When it comes to these two teams, the script has flipped from past years, as Colorado is now a powerhouse in the Western Conference, while Chicago is a bottom dweller. The Avalanche arguably have the best line in all of hockey, with Nathan MacKinnon centering, Mikko Rantanen, and Gabriel Landeskog. They are the 3 most expensive skaters in this contest, so it will cost you to roster all 3. Landeskog is the cheapest option at $10,700, and with 4 goals in his last 3 games, he'll be a good bet to light the lamp again tonight. Another thing working against the Blackhawks is the fact that they played last night, defeating the Dallas Stars 5-2. Chicago is 1-5-2 in the second game of a back-to-back this season, allowing 4 goals per game. With this game likely to be a high-scoring affair, you might want to think twice before putting any goalies in your showdown lineup.
All right, thanks, Terrell. And back to the gridiron now with DK Live's Reed Fowler and Steve Buchanan for NFL Chase or Fade.
I'm sure this will
Saturday
be a calm segment. All right, there are games tomorrow. Titans will host the Redskins. Chargers match up with the Ravens. We told you that earlier. Now we're going to talk more about them. 2 games, playoff implications. These are significant. So let's start with Tennessee and Washington. Reed, chase or fade Marcus Mariota, the mediocre Marcus Mariota, reaching 300 passing yards. He's done it 3 times so far this year.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fade for me. Look, the guys who have done it against Washington, right, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, the Falcons, and then Carson Wentz with the Eagles, 2 of those 3 teams are in the top 10 in pass play percentage. But you look at Drew Brees, right, a team that doesn't run that or doesn't pass that much. This guy went 26 for 29. So, again, these elite or pass-heavy quarterbacks are hitting this mark. And Marcus Mariota, like you said, only hit it 3 times. In the games that he hasn't, he's hit about in the hundreds 5 times and below that in the double digits twice. And so this guy doesn't get a lot of pass yards. When he does, he has to be elite, like that one game where he just had, 1 incompletion. That's what he has to do to hit this mark. He doesn't really pass that much in Tennessee, like we mentioned earlier. Doesn't pass the ball that much. They don't have to. They have Derrick Henry in this matchup against a bad Washington rush defense. So I'm going to fade that he goes over 300.
Stevie Bukes, chase or fade 300 passing yards for Mariota.
No. I mean, it's hard to reach that mark when you're averaging around 23 pass attempts a game over the past 5 games. And, the Redskins have been pretty decent against opposing quarterbacks. They're not great, but they're not terrible either. They're allowing an average of 260 passing yards per game. But you have to remember, too, the Titans are favored by 10 in this game here. So there's not going to be a reason for Mariota to keep passing the ball. The Washington Redskins just don't have enough guys to sustain any type of offense once they're behind. I mean, they have so many guys that are injured at this point. There's so many. I mean, they have like their third string or fourth string quarterback on the field at this point. So in a game where they're so heavily, they're such huge underdogs, Mariota should not have to pass as much as he is. They got Deion Lewis. They got that fluke Derrick Henry in the backfield as well. So, I hate Derrick Henry. I think he's so bad. I don't care how good he does. Pat Mayo hates Mark Ingram. I hate Derrick Henry. I think he's the biggest fraud.
I thought Derrick Henry was December eggnog or something.
Right, that's what Ryan Noonan said.
Yeah.
He's
How is that sweatometer
Steve
like
clearly does
mediocre?
not want the
no respect on the sweatometer there. Derrick Henry's a fraud.
All right, well, let's see if one of you has respect for Adrian Peterson. He is 77 yards shy of $1,000. This week, that cocky SOB said 1,000 yards has always been easy for him. So, Steve, chase or fade Peterson, reaching that plateau for the 8th time in his career.
What a world. What a world. Yeah, it's not, I don't think see it happening this week. I mean, look, this is someone who's averaging over 4.2 yards per carry over the past 5 weeks. But let's just turn it back a little bit here, okay? The reason why it's at 4.2 because he had that massive 90-yard run against the Eagles. You know what he did in the rest of the game?
What's that?
9 rushing yards after that. So if we take out that big run, it's 2.6 yards per carry in those other remaining games. The Titans have been one of the best run defenses in the league. And Peterson looks like he's got nothing going for him. I mean, he's not getting anything when he takes the ball. A couple of yards, thanks for the 6 feet you just got us. Big deal. I mean, 77 yards against this Titans defense, that seems like a pretty hefty task, especially for a Washington offensive line that's just been in shambles. Nope, not happening this week, pal.
Oh, running backs are really ticking you off today, Steve. Reed,
you're damn right.
Reed, chase or fade that AP goes for 1,000 or gets to 1,000 yards.
God, Steve has something against guys that get 90-plus yard runs, man. I think it's pretty cool when you have a guy
Total fluke. That was such crap. He got lucky on that. That was a big hole. He got through. Look at the rest of the game. He had like 9 yards.
Was Derrick Henry lucky too?
Oh, he's a total fraud. He's awful. Everything I can say about Derrick Henry is not appropriate for the show. So that's the after-hours version of the sweat. We'll see you at 8 o'clock.
The only thing I'll add, because Steve is right, I don't think he does this. Like Zeke, Saquon, like the New England running backs, Fournette, all of these guys hit below this mark, and they're much better than AP. Didn't know that AP got you that angry or triggered, Glasheen. But yeah, this is a fade for me as well. With Steve's attitude, I like that. This is good. This is a Friday.
I like that.
Okay. Let me mix in just something else on this game, too, because, again, we're going to get Baltimore and L.A., get to that game in a second, but Baltimore, Tennessee, these are a couple 8-win teams outside looking in, trying to make the playoffs, as we know, with a couple of weeks left. Bukes, let me go back to you here. Chase or fade one of these teams making the playoffs, not both?
I mean, I think the Ravens have a good shot. It's just they have to win both of these games. I mean, it's a must. Like there's no if they lose one of these games, they're totally out here. But Baltimore hasn't clinched anything. But I do like their attack here. I mean, obviously Jackson gives them a whole different dimension on the team there. But the thing that we have to see, and this is going to come this week, is we haven't seen him really need to throw the ball. And against the Chargers here, he's probably going to have to. And that's what's really going to make or break this season at this juncture, because we've seen what he can do on the ground. We all know he's good at that point. But this is the make or break game here, because this is going up against a good defense. They're 4.5-point underdogs at this point. But I think Baltimore can do it. I think they do have enough that they can do it. But I like their chances out of the two of them.
Reed, what do you think here on a playoff projection?
Yeah, I think so too. And they're the perfect team that you want coming into it, right? Run heavy and play really good defense. They're a team that no one probably wants to face, because how do you guard a guy like Lamar Jackson if you can't defend the run? So I believe they hold the tiebreaker against the Colts and the Titans as well. The Ravens do. They have a really good shot in this spot. And, that's a team that you're scared of. They're like the Chargers were the past couple of years, that if they got in, they're a team that no one would want to play, because at this time, right, you always hear about it, momentum building at the right time. This team's won 3 of their last 4, and they figured out what their offense and their identity is now. It's run the ball and play really good defense. And that's what Harbaugh has wanted for the past 5-10 years. Flacco didn't give it to him, and now Lamar Jackson does. So I do like the Ravens here.
All right, let's take that question a step further. As this guy said, it's an important one for these two teams. So, Steve, would you chase or fade this game as a must-win for Baltimore with 2 games to go, meaning no playoffs for the Birds if they lose this one?
I mean, we can just rewind the last 2 minutes of what I said, and that's my answer. I mean, but yeah, I mean, of course it's a must-win. I mean, you haven't clinched anything, and if you lose in this spot, it's almost impossible to make it in at this point. I mean, unfortunately for the Ravens, it's really out of their hands if they're going to make the playoffs at this point, right? Like, yes, they can still win those 2 games, but it really depends on the Colts and the other teams slip on my mind who else is in that kind of mix there. But yes, you absolutely have to win this game. Thank you. You absolutely have to win this game at this point. I mean, they can't afford a loss here because they're still clinging on to that second wild card spot behind the Chargers. So yeah, of course, this is a must win.
You know, for a guy who enjoys hearing himself talk as much as he does, I'm surprised Steve minded repeating himself. You know,
I think you're confusing me with Reed.
Must win, Reed. Chase or fade. Must win for Baltimore.
Or mistaking himself for himself. But yeah, I think it is a must win. Yeah, Steve mentioned it, right? It's a little out of their hands. They're gonna need some help, obviously with Pittsburgh if they lose at Foxborough, which by what that line is set at, it looks like they potentially would. And yeah, like they have to win these 2 games to really kind of seal their own fate as much as they have to. Again, they are in plus matchups. That's why for fantasy purposes, we liked Lamar Jackson, these guys like Gus Edwards, because of the matchups that they've had. So I think at this point, this must-win narrative or the vernacular of must-win, I think any team who wants to play later in the year, every game is a must-win. Kansas City must win if they want to have the easiest road to the Super Bowl. So the Ravens here, yeah, must win.
All right, guys, so with the Ravens and Chargers battling, Melvin Gordon expected back for L.A. Chase or fade him scoring at least twice. Reed, what do you think?
2 ones.
I'm going to fade this. If you look at what he's done it 3 times, right? And the teams that he's done it against, Cleveland, I believe, Arizona, and Buffalo, both Cleveland and Arizona are in the lower 4th of rush DVOA. So this is going to be hard for him. And we just don't know, right? We don't know how he's going to be used. And like, we're going to mention probably throughout the week too, is they're going to need him, right? Todd Gurley is going to be needed late in the playoffs for the Rams. Melvin Gordon, now on a Chargers team that has the best chance they've had in a long time to go far into the playoffs. They're going to need this guy because this guy is a big reason why they're there. So you don't know what those snap count's going to be and what those touches are. So 2 times against this tough defense, who's averaging, I believe, about 0.7 touchdown rate, which is pretty good in the NFL. I'm going to say no, fade.
Steve?
Yeah, this is a fade. I mean, you know how many times the Ravens have allowed 2 rushing touchdowns in a game? 0. Never happened this season. Only twice this season a running back has scored 2 touchdowns in a game, in the passing game and rushing. Christian McCaffrey and household name Damian Williams. Those are the 2 running backs that have done it so far this season. I mean, obviously Gordon's the type of player that has the capability to do that, but we have to remember too that what's his workload going to be like in this game? This is more of a game that the Ravens need to win than the Chargers at this point. The Chargers are in the playoffs. They've clinched their playoff spot. Just a matter of where they're going to end up landing for that berth there. So this is a game where if they want to conserve Gordon, they absolutely have the capabilities to do so. So I worry about what the workload is going to look like. Granted, we don't know what really is going to happen after Gordon because the whole running back core is banged up, it seems at this point. But, who isn't banged up? I'm banged up. Reed's banged up. Adam's banged up. Brendan's here once a week, whatever. And it's like, it's just one of those things that you just really have to watch that workload for him. And that's what worries me too. So for him potentially scoring 2 touchdowns against a really good run defense to begin with, I think it's a tough spot.
Next time you do the 0, just go a little slower. That way someone can use that as a gift for your regrets chain.
No. What I will say, though, about Baltimore, too, they hold the 3rd lowest red zone attempts, too. So, again, to reiterate what Steve was saying, right, along with the usage, along with that banged-up backfield.
Why are you reiterating? You already said it. It's done. We've moved on.
All right, slate approved
I'm the one that
picks,
likes to
please,
listen
for
to myself
tomorrow.
talk.
Reed, slate approved pick for tomorrow?
Quick pick.
Yeah, Gus Edwards for me. I think this matchup against is someone. I know this is a tough slate. So Gus Edwards, per next gen stats amongst rushers that have 100+ yards, he's 1st in rushing efficiency. So this guy who was the 3rd, 4th string guy now with the prime spot there in that backfield. Give me Gus.
I think Reed proved that he actually does like to repeat himself too. Steve, your slate approved pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mike Williams. I think obviously, Keenan Allen is supposed to be playing, but obviously, again, workload problems that we have to worry about that. Mike Williams is one of Philip Rivers' favorite targets in the red zone besides Keenan Allen. So if Allen is not on the field, Mike Williams will be the guy.
Steve, very quickly, big baseball trade today. Dodgers and obviously the Reds. You had Alex Wood, Matt Kemp, Yasiel Puig, Kyle Farmer, all going to Cincinnati. Homer Bailey and prospects going the other way. Is this all to free up money for Bryce Harper?
100%. I don't see how you see it anyways. And Homer Bailey's not going to throw a pitch for the Dodgers either. He's going to get released. It's the biggest waste of money I've ever seen. He's the Derrick Henry of baseball. It's awful. He's a total fraud.
Reed, I wish we had time for your baseball take, but unfortunately, we got to get
Reed's studying Canadian football for next year.
Yeah, he's working on the CFL, so good for you. All right, listen, as always, Monday through Friday, you can catch the sweat here on DK Live, 6 p.m. to 7, but Sunday, 11:30, you don't want to miss it. We're going to look at the Sunday slate. For Brendan, I'm Kaufman, all these guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.